Nugget fans have spent today on cloud nine for plenty of good reason, of course. These days, they're all too rare. These are the days that sports fans relish. They get to bask in the glow and the glory of such a special victory. After all, your team's result can actually have a big impact on your health. So let's talk about those impacts with our Nine health expert, Dr. Payal Kohli. Everyone's smiling.
Yeah.
Smiling's good for you. So let's talk about the science, the biological changes, the chemical changes that happens when you get to be part of or feel part of a win.
It's fascinating, actually. We're changing the neurobiology in our brains when we're watching a game or we're participating in a win. So think about the chemicals that make you happy. It's the adrenaline rush, right? You're watching a game, it's the final quarter, what have you, and that creates dopamine. Dopamine is the same chemical that gets activated when you use morphine or heroin or any of those other substances. It's a feel-good chemical. And then following that, you actually have a burst of endorphins. Those are also neurotransmitters that make you feel good. So put it all together, that thrill of the game and of winning actually creates chemical reactions in the brain.
And you can't fake it. It's not like something you can just create in your mind. You need to see something like that, and that spurs your body to go nuts.
What you see is what happens in your brain. It creates those changes. But the interesting thing is you have to be a fan. And so if you're just watching it, you're not really emotionally invested. You don't get as much of a burst as you would if you're really into the team and into the game.
Well, Ron Zapella was here yesterday. He
Yeah.
talked about how sports just has this ability to bring people together, too.
That's right.
And even if you're not the most diehard, you're celebrating together. There is that psychological and mental health benefit, I guess.
So much so. In fact, they say sports fans, like Tom here, actually have higher self-esteem. They have lower rates of anxiety and depression. And they're, in general, as you said, Kim, the act of coming together creates an entertainment experience that makes you happier. It creates a connectedness. So your relationships with others, your family members, your friends, whoever you're watching the game with, other fans, even strangers, are much more stronger. So you feel connected to others. And what they're saying is that this kind of connectedness is actually a substitution for modern day loneliness, which we know is an epidemic in our society. So people who don't have a lot of real social interactions, watching a game, watching the fans cheer, creates that social interaction.
That's that collective thing I like, because the highlight of a game-winning goal or a game-winning bucket or a touchdown, the highlight itself can be inspiring. But when they show the wide shot and you see the ball go through the net and 16,000 people come out of their seats, I mean, that gets you, because now you're in the group. Now you're part of that vibe that accelerates probably what you talk about, what's happened when you're inspired by something that you see.
It's your community. You're automatically part of a community. And what I love about sports is that they're great equalizer. So the disparities that we talk about in every aspect of our lives, it doesn't matter what your socioeconomic status is, it doesn't matter what your educational status is. You can all be part of the same team. You can be part of the same fan club and just be rooting for the same cause.
And I suppose when you lose, too, if it's a tough loss, there's also that you find sympathy with one another.
Yes, and I'm really glad you brought that up, because there's actually evidence that the losing part of sports changes our behavior as well. It helps us cope better with the losses in life. So sports are a microcosm for what happens in our life. We have wins, we have losses. Some days are good, some days are bad. And so watching that through sports actually makes us cope better with some of the losses that we have in life. And it changes our behavior in other ways too. So watching people play sports makes you more likely to play a sport. And this data comes from Wimbledon. So if you go to the Wimbledon or watch it on television, you're much more likely to actually play tennis that summer.
I think everyone gets to share this, and it's on this giant platform. It's the NBA playoffs, and you get to watch it and communicate with everyone. But you probably get the same thing when your kid is at the science fair or in the spelling bee. You get that same
wonderful
shot of this is cool.
Inside.
It is. And I think the take-home message here is being part of groups, small groups, large groups, community groups,
Family.
Yes, rooting for causes, being invested in something emotionally. These are all very good for us. We've moved away from these as we've started doing more social media and others, but these types of events remind us just how important they are.
Let's get 4 more of those in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll all be good. All right.
Let's all get together and watch them.
Yeah. Oh, we have work.
We got to work. You people, get out there and get together. Thank you as always. Good to see you, Dr. Payal Kohli.